So we have our quorum here. So we have a quorum. I would like to call this meeting in order. The public safety committee meeting of July the 13th, 2021. And I would ask that we move item 3 to number 1 and everything down. We have our quorum position, if that's okay with everyone.
So moved.
Second.
All right. We have a first and a second. All of those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, agenda item 3 is moved to number 1 and everything's moved down accordingly. All right. Ordinance 2021-29, discussion of amending municipal code concerning peddlers, solicitors, HPD. Yes, sir. Chief Jones, would you like to give us a quick rundown on that?
Yes, sir. So it should be in everybody's packet
Mhm.
also, but as you know, we get a lot of calls regarding unwanted solicitation at residences throughout the city. I know City Hall gets complaints on it. So we were kind of looking at different options. How can we address this? And obviously right now what the police department does is if they don't have a permit, we could cite them for that. But if they do have a permit and within the guidelines of the ordinance, not a whole lot we can do. But we came up with Gallatin Police Department has, or the city of Gallatin has a do not solicit registry. And the way that works is on their website, city website, a citizen can go in and enter their name, address, and email address to sign up for the do not solicit registry. They can also come and sign up in person at City Hall. And when someone comes up for a peddler's or solicitor's permit to go door to door, they're provided a copy of that list or at least access to the list so they know where not to go to. So my thought was that if we could just amend our current Title IX peddlers and solicitors ordinance and enact something similar to that, it would involve obviously our city IT, adding that to the website and a database. There's a couple of things in the proposed amendment to the ordinance. And speaking with Mr. Bradley, we may need to change the wording just a little bit. But if somebody does go to one of these houses that's on the do not solicit registry and we get a complaint, the officers would be able to issue a citation for that. And they'd have to appear in city court. One of the things that was in the ordinance because it had come up was about revoking their permit. So I just added that into the ordinance also. Mr. Bradley said due to another section in the ordinance that already addresses revocation of their permit, we might have to change the wording a little bit so that those two sections of the ordinance are not in conflict.
Okay.
But the idea behind it is to create a do not solicit registry here in Hendersonville that the citizens could sign up for to try to prevent solicitors coming to their door when that's not wanted.
Yes, sir. Any discussion? Particular issue?
Anything to make it more efficient, especially for you
I agree.
guys.
Those people who do not want feathers at the front door. Continue to slow it down.
Where are we with the times? How late can they go? Because I know we adjusted that.
We adjusted that to sun up and sunset, if I recall, was the timing on that. So it wouldn't alter that in any way. It just merely says if a person has signed, a citizen has signed up for the do not solicit registry, the peddlers and solicitors are put on notice they can't go to those residences by address. So, you know, and it had also been mentioned that as opposed to the city reporter having to print out a list each time, we may just give them a card with the link to the website on it. And it's their responsibility then to look on that website and check those addresses. And that takes the response, you know, takes the onus off of us, puts it back on them. If you want to solicit, here's your permit, that's fine. Check this list because it's a citable offense if you go to these residences. And
Yeah,
that would be,
I completely agree with that because I mean, if people are signing up every day, we're going to be burning through paper.
And some people would just say, hey, I don't think I'm gonna go door to door.
but I don't know as far as aldermen. I've heard in the past that several aldermen get calls from their constituents. You know, people complaining that they come to their door. I know we get those calls at the police department and talking to Annette with Mr. Manning's office. You know, she said they get complaints in their office about people saying, well, I don't want to come to my door. Well, this is hopefully a way to address that and put those solicitors on notice that these residences, and hopefully we'll do a better job of enforcing that than the do not call register.
So do we need to make a
Oh, this is a,
motion to add this to the ordinance, or can we just do this?
I can do it myself. He's the sponsor.
sorry?
You can do it yourself. You're the
Yes,
sponsor.
sir. Yes, sir. I just like to add it to the legislation as, yes, I like that. It's the legislation, made a complete document. And,
Second,
all right, got a
And we're talking about adding what to the,
the signing up,
like Gallatin's.
Yes.
what
creating
example.
this registry.
There's a proposed amendment to the ordinance in there. And again, Mr. Bradley said before it comes to the full board, he needs to massage
tweak
it
a little bit. Yes.
I wonder,
Fully in support of it.
is Mary Beth here?
I don't know. I did speak to Tina.
Okay,
I'd sent her the email and with the pictures of what Gallatin's done. And she had indicated off the top of her head, that she didn't see any problem with creating the tab on the webpage and having that feed into a database.
Yes, sir. So,
so we'll
what's that, pardon me?
bring it back
Bring it back. Okay.
next fall, I mean.
Next public safety
No,
meeting.
we'll pass it now, and then do we have to discuss it again? We can just bring it to the board.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Well, go ahead. I'll want to speak on this just a second. Go ahead.
We're good. Go ahead, Mary Claire. What you got?
So, two things I think we need to work out, and I love this because it will certainly create less of a headache for police, less of a headache for us, City Hall, is right now, we don't require solicitor permits from people doing school sales. And I don't think we want to lump this in here, but I think at some point, if somebody gets on the do not solicit list, they need to understand that we're not going to arrest an 8-year-old kid.
Exactly.
That's
And it doesn't include religious organizations because they don't obtain a permit.
Nor does, so then we also have to figure, what about for people knocking on doors, asking people to vote? That's always been sort of a gray area.
That, Mayor, that's considered canvassing,
So, and which is in here,
but that's not soliciting.
okay?
It doesn't, I don't think it says canvassing.
See, it says contact canvassing, for the purpose of contact canvassing. I'm not saying we need to deal with it now, but at some point, we sort of need to figure that
You're
out.
talking about the original language of the ordinance, not the amendment
Okay,
that
okay.
we're putting in there. Because the amendment only deals with soliciting, if you're trying to sell a
I
product
think
or a
that's important.
service.
I think that's important, okay. With the exception of people who
Schools.
don't require a permit, which are, most of that is schools and.
Religious organization. Yes, sir.
I didn't want that on that.
So we probably just need to put that on the top.
Oh,
because people-
Yeah, we, on the
First
first page.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
just
first-
in the first paragraph, because people sometimes don't read the rest and just say this excludes.
I agree with that too, because that's exactly what will happen.
and that's something we'll hand out to City Hall. Once somebody does it, we'll hand it,
Yes, sir.
says this excludes and this includes. So don't give us a call for an 8-year-old that's trying to say it can't work.
Maybe I think we need to pass this evening and move it forward and allow Brandon to make his tweaks to it to make sure it's legal, and then also add the verbiage that we need to for schools, churches, and make sure the canvassing is okay, political canvassing is okay. And I think we need to pass it and forward and then come back to those, or do you think we just need to take it and hold it, make the correct changes to it, and then come back with
You think?
Well, that was kind of a chicken and egg question I was
I know.
asking before. So why don't we,
hold.
well, we could pass that this is what we want to do. And then when police and IT get it all formed up, bring it back, we can just do a final review and then send it to Belmont.
Sounds a good point.
So is it a motion to pass it until the next month?
Yes, sir. Till we work out the issues between IT and police department and get the verbiage correct for schools, churches, and political canvassing. So all in favor of this proposal, this amendment and proposal, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Passes unanimously. Thank you. 2, discussion of use of safety cones for vendors who leave vehicles on roadways unattended while performing work trailer. Ordinance 2019-31. And yes, we've had that discussion before about safety cones.
Yes, so we passed this one 2 years ago, just about folks having safety cones around their work vehicles.
Mhm.
And I don't know what's going on, but I've gotten a lot of phone calls about it lately. I don't know if police has, people not using cones and folks being agitated with work trucks parking, instead of spreading out, blocking it down to one lane on residential roads and things like that. But I definitely haven't seen a lot of cones out. It's just something to help identify. My understanding was that Steve Brown had maybe discussed this.
Yes, ma'am, and here's one of the cards that we take with us when we go out there to enforce this regulation. I'm unaware that we've gotten a lot of calls recently on this, but we have sent back out to our patrol staff and traffic when they do see these infractions to educate the violators about our ordinance, and if it's a continuing issue, then we would certainly cite them for it.
Okay.
All right.
There's no issues on the peninsula, so.
Yeah, I've seen some of these trucks that you're talking about, and I have seen them parked in catty corners where it's almost impossible, but I mean, it's like, can't you pull forward and back just a little bit, get a little bit more wiggle room through here? Because
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no way the ambulance or
a fire apparatus would come through there. Yeah.
And please, anytime if you see that, give us a call because we'll have to go out there.
Yes, sir.
Adjustments.
all right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Resolution 2021-38, discussion of carryover funds from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22 for gun range HPD. Yes, sir. Chief Jones again. Would you like to update us on that?
Sure. So and I included some pictures for y'all of where we started at, where we're at today. Last year in the budget, Bowman approved $50,000 to begin construction of our range. And we had a couple things. One, in working with Public Works, we believe that we would be lucky if that 50,000 would cover all of the movement of dirt and the trucking and the cost of the dirt and the things that are associated with that. Very fortunately, our Public Works Department worked out something with a contractor who was needing a place to dump dirt, and they said, yes, we've got a place for you to dump dirt. So probably at this point, I couldn't tell you how many tons of dirt have been brought into that location up there. That has to be done. All that, everything up there has to be done in coordination with TDEC because of the regulations on that property. So they actually put matting down and built a construction road in. Our Public Works Department did, for them to be able to run the dump trucks across that without disturbing the top layer. And that was done. But obviously with COVID last year, there was a lot of delays in construction projects and everything that was going on. So once they really got up and got rolling, they were bringing that dirt in. Our Public Works Department was arranging that dirt in a way it needed to be for a range berm. They've done a lot of work up there and it looks really good. But what we ran into, or the good thing is, we wound up not spending any money up until that point because the dirt and the trucking was all free. So we've gotten a lot done. But what we're asking to do, because we ran out of time at the end of the budget year, is to carry those funds over to be put with the money that was approved for this year's budget for the range, so that we can complete that project in full this year. Initially, we knew we were going to span it out over at least 2 years, possibly even 3, but we feel like that at this point, with the money, we may be able to go ahead and get it completely finished this year.
And what are the total funds for the projects?
Well,
Last year and this year?
it'll be $100,000 total. There's 50,000 was approved last year. There's 50,000 this year. And we're just asking to carry that 50,000 forward so that we can utilize those funds this year.
What are you building, like an open air Butler building or closed or?
Well, it depends on how far the funds go at this point. So the big issue was getting a safe berm constructed. We looked at several different range designs. Myself and Mr. Boyd did, talked about that. Trace was in on those discussions and we explained what we needed. But then past that, we've got to go up there and put in range markers, lane markers, and we'll be forming that up and pouring concrete and then a mesh between those lanes and then gravel in that to keep the weeds down and stuff like that. And ultimately, we would like to be able to put a covered roof up there. I don't know if any of you ever been to the Sumner County Range,
Yeah.
but it's open air.
Yeah.
And with the posted beam, actually, there's steel girders on the sides with a metal roof over it. And that would be our ultimate goal, is to have ours similar to that.
Yeah, it's like an open air butler room.
Yes,
Are you doing restrooms?
that's not in the initial plan. Part of the problem is right now, there's no sewer or water up there. So if it was done, there would have to be a water line, there would have to be probably septic because there's no sewer. So that's not
Not
anywhere.
needed.
Well, and it's not in the initial plans. We would like at
How
some
about
point.
T-deck?
Yeah, we would like at some point to be able, and there is a section of that property right where the range starts that's not part of the T-deck property, so we have a little more leeway on what we can actually do there. And some of that discussion has been to possibly talk to the county about school portable to be used as a classroom and cleaning area at the range. There's electric already up there that we could probably tie into to get electric, so there is a possibility of over time making quite a few improvements, but we knew going into it that this wouldn't be something that'd be just a rush right in there, do it all. You know, we'd have to span this out.
So all in all, very similar to the county setup.
Very,
Yeah.
we're one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the county. We're the only one that does not have our own range. And just the way circumstances are, Commander Daniel can tell you, it's become virtually impossible for us to schedule time at the county's range. They're just booked up all the time. So us trying to schedule our officers to go up there and meet state mandates, it has become virtually to the point that we've started going to other ranges farther away. Because we can get a day here and a day there at these other ranges.
So
All right. So do we have a motion? All right. All in favor? Any other discussion, Russ?
No, I don't have anything. I mean, it's not appropriating any new money, right?
No.
Just carrying it over, yeah.
And combining it.
Yeah,
Combining the funds.
fully support.
Yes, sir. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And discussion on the deer enforcement. It's Shrevel. We'd like to thank the deer herd committee chairman.
yeah.
Oliver, being here for how many years you been doing this now? 6 years?
However long it's been going, I've been doing it.
It's 6
More
or
than
7
6 years.
It's 7 years because it was started before I became an alderman.
Yeah, it's 20.
I'm 6.
14, 15. But, well, okay, so obviously we're getting calls about deer. It is their birthing season for deer. I've served on the deer committee for those of you all that don't know that. With Oliver, who's a saints and patient. It's very complex. It's a very polarizing subject. The fixes are either, correct me if I'm wrong, they're either cheap or expensive. And right now, we're taking the inexpensive route by doing the no fee ones. And so I've had several aldermen and citizens basically ask for graphics to put on our website or the Facebook page. First of all, stating why we don't feed the deer, that if folks actually understood how it's detrimental to the deer, that they would stop feeding them because it's not good for the deer. And then when you feed the deer, it pulls them off their natural migration trail, which, as we all know, is getting smaller in Hendersonville because we're down to 20. I don't know, what is it, Mayor? How much buildable land do we have left, Mayor? 24%? 24%. So with less migration trail due to development, they appear to be encroaching more. So I asked our chairman, Oliver Berry, to come and just kind of give us an update and kind of pick your brain and see what you think.
Well, honestly, we met for quite a while. We talked about several solutions, hunting them, etc. Giving them some kind of birth control. And I understand has been used in some other cities. To what degree of success, I doubt there's
It's hard to measure.
yeah, I doubt there's very much success with doing that. The thing we have to do is have a deer feeding ordinance, enforce it. When people call and complain about the deer coming over, I bet you your neighbors are feeding them, aren't they? Yes, they are. Well, you need to turn them in. So we need to enforce the deer feeding ordinance. We need to do that more. We need to turn in people more because it helps the deer if we stop feeding. And if we want USDA to get involved in doing a hunt, and at some point we will have to, if the deer continue to multiply. The USDA is going to want to know first, do we have an ordinance? And second, are we enforcing it? Right now, we're not. How many complaints have we got?
Couldn't tell you a complaint that we've received from a citizen.
So here's my vision for what the deer committee can do over the next few months. Meet, discuss how to inform the populace on what to do about deer coming in your yard. And the things that we can do are add something to the website saying, don't feed the deer.
This is why.
This is why. And I won't bore you with a whole list of reasons why we shouldn't do that. We should not plant plants that they like. They love daylilies and roses and hostas. Yep. And I've got a passel of them coming through my yard every night. And my hostas look pretty good because I spray them at least weekly with deer repellent. The stuff works if you spray it on it. So we teach people how to protect their daylilies. And because we're putting stuff on the website, we're putting stuff on the Facebook page. And the deer committee needs to concentrate on doing those kinds of things, on educating the public on how to keep deer from damaging their property. And that's the biggest thing is to stop planting stuff that'll feed them. Stop feeding them ourselves. Yeah, stop attracting them to our yards. And a fence that tall will not keep them out of your tomatoes. Education. And those are the things we really need to do. Now, if we decide to have a hunt, guess what? The aldermen who vote for that will not be around to worry about it after the next election, because you're going to get voted out. I promise you that will happen. And I will warn each of you individually and as a group, if you vote for a hunt, that's what you're going to get. Yeah.
Negative PR for the city. That's just a part of it. It's just reality.
And when I first got in this committee, let's hunt. A good idea. Let's have a hunt. But I began to realize that, let's go get them, boys. And I look back at all the aldermen sitting back there saying, I'm not going to vote for that because I already know. So we're not going to get approval for any kind of hunt from us. TWRA will issue a depredation permit to a homeowner, and see that leaves it between that homeowner and TWRA to solve that problem. That's a great thing. It's off of our backs.
And we've put that out there as well. We had a few minor instances of folks being sloppy with their skills, let's say. And I know we had
Arrow goes through a window.
we had an arrow go through a window,
Stuck an ottoman.
missed a kid. Yep.
Yeah.
We had another guy up in a kid's playhouse shooting and then drug that deer through several people's yards. And that was not good. So I don't know what the solution is for the messy depredation
Yeah,
events.
but that's the homeowners. issues
Responsibility.
and their liability insurance.
Yeah.
And see, now the city doesn't have a problem with that. So,
And you can't hunt on core land.
yeah, so that's for them to deal with. But there's lots of interest in reviving the deer committee. And I'm not sure what the agenda is of some of the new members that are going to be on the committee, but I can tell you, as a committee, if we vote to have a hunt, we're not going to have success. And we have just wasted another year of the deer committee.
What about so it sounds like the main focus should be on education. What do you think about getting it on Channel 3? I don't know how many people.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff on Channel 3.
Yeah.
We could have that as part of the scrolling.
I'll bet you $10 we could call Russ Skoglund, who's the biologist for TWRA. He's a PhD in biology. He would come on the Channel 3 and discuss ways to prevent deer in your yard and to talk about all the failed efforts and all the things that you can do. And there's a lot of good things that you can do to prevent deer coming in your yard. And I have to say, after all these years, I have become a pretty good expert on on deer. So,
Well, somebody talk, like on Channel 3, if somebody is talking, I think that would get more people's attention than something that just scrolls through.
Yeah.
Some of those
Yeah.
information stuff, people don't really.
and maybe we could go interview Russ Skoglund at his office, with a camera, and so the city could provide us to do that. Hey, Russ, what do you think about shooting? What do you think about deer repellent? What do you think about a 4-foot fence? What do you think about planting daylilies?
Well, and since he's a biologist, we really need him to explain why it's bad to feed the deer.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we've had, prior to your tenure, I don't know how many times we've had them come to the board,
Yes.
TWRA, I invited the
State biologist,
And
national zoo biologist.
national zoo
Yeah,
vet, who's
yeah,
around,
we've had 'em all here.
Explained it, and it just does not take.
Yeah.
So if we've got a video on
Yeah.
the website, on the city website, oh, you've got deer problems, look up this video and, YouTube video and play that sucker for you. Then now we've got education and now we got that work. So those are the things that are going to.
Well, what folks need to understand is that the migration channel has been disrupted. Like our peninsula has been built out in the last 40 years. When I was growing up, I never saw deer. Did you?
Maybe one every now and then.
Yeah.
I can tell you, they're in every ward,
Yes.
they're on every road. The reason, I'm sure everybody knows this, but the reason there's a deer crossing sign is there have been multiple accidents
At that
hitting deer at that location. And the city, the Public Works has gone out and put a sign there to warn not the deer, but drivers.
Oh, come on now.
It's for the drivers.
Yeah.
So, we gotta keep that in mind.
Maybe that's you.
And, other things we can do is during the rutting season, which begins late September and goes through about December, is warn drivers that early in the morning and late in the afternoon, as the day is starting and ending, those are the times that the deer they're really in love and they're on the move.
Mhm.
And watch out for them. And they don't understand you coming at them, blinking your lights or blowing your horn. Things like that. So, more education there.
The other thing is we don't have a liaison for that committee. And I think, I guess I need to talk to John Bradley or Mayor, if you know how we handle that. I was actually on the committee as a
Mhm.
member, but I'm not
Yeah,
technically the liaison.
Don Ames was appointed as liaison.
So, yeah,
So, yeah, we probably could have appointed an alderman who's interested. Jonathan.
Come on, Jonathan.
Hey,
Jonathan.
Jonathan
But
knows
the
a
first
lot
score is
about
good.
beer.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah,
Run out to the hair field. There you go.
Also, do we have a member appointed from every ward now?
We're pretty close.
I don't think we have Ward 1, nobody's replaced me.
I would say I want to meet as soon as we have a full committee. So when we got a full committee, let me know and we'll establish a meeting and go through it.
I would go ahead and start meeting.
All right, bud.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Mark and I haven't
Thank
found
you.
anybody
Yes,
from
sir.
Ward 1.
We have 2 from Ward 5.
Yeah, like I would just go ahead and get going with the meeting.
The ordinance only provides for one from each board, and then like,
Yeah.
Go then a mayoral appointment too.
and please don't appoint anybody that comes in and says, kill them all,
It's really not that
because
good.
it's useless. It just extends our meeting time by another 30 minutes. When somebody comes in telling their stories about deer and how they want to kill them. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna be able to do that.
4 years.
Yeah.
And it's not just started just yesterday. I mean, got some,
Yeah, I mean, we've already figured all this out.
Yes, sir.
We know where to go, so let's get people on the committee that want to do that.
Well, and we need to maintain good relationships with both agencies, both the USDA and TWRA, because we need both of them.
Absolutely.
We appreciate all of everything you do with this.
yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, anytime I can help with anything, I'll be glad to speak to the full Roma at any time too. And, so yeah, once we get a full committee, let me know, we'll get started.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you going out and talking to your citizens one-on-one like you've done in the past.
Yeah, if you've got somebody from your ward, have them call me and I'll go through the whole sad story with them. And that's been very helpful for people.
Yes, sir.
They understand, you know, what the situation is. All right,
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I know it's ridiculous to talk to the deer about this, but can we research the deer sterilization or birth control and find out other communities that have maybe had success with it?
yeah, that's the thing.
I've heard that there's a problem that sometimes they get deformed calves. but-
Yeah, and honestly, I've never heard anybody having success with it. I've heard many have tried it and haven't heard anybody.
People also get upset because they think they're excreting hormone into our water system, which I think we
Well,
have.
that's an issue when you give it any drug to any animal, that drug is gonna get in.
Run off into the water.
Yeah,
That was the main opposition, remember, because we discussed that
and
several
that was
times.
an issue with whoever did it to begin with. was worried about this.
And we can't turn it into a petting zoo. We can't send them off to the state,
Yeah.
state parks. They don't,
Yeah,
want them. They're
yeah.
overloaded with
Yeah, they
deer as
don't
well.
want them. We got no place to send them. if we
Yeah, I
can.
mean, we've already had that discussion with the state.
And it's expensive.
That
to send
is
them over
a
there.
good point to make, because we're on camera, it's just TWRA, those deer literally belong to the state, they are the
And they-
property of the state.
Yes.
And that's why you have to have a depredation permit. to
That's right.
hunt them.
And we can't move deer, it's not our property to move, and even if you move them, they're kind of like turtles, they're gonna spend the rest of their life trying to come right back here, so. And it just puts burden on another regional area, the whitetail deer population, it's not just unique to us here, it's through the whole United States at this point.
Oliver, appreciate you
Okay.
coming and talking
Thanks,
to us,
sir.
sir.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you. Any other
Discuss
comments,
it.
sir? Any other comments before we dispatch? Fire department, y'all have anything for us since you're sitting right here? Chief Hope? Commander Daniels, do you have anything?
All good, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second,
All
sorry.
right, we have a motion and a
Sorry.
second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
I want this time on that. Rush.
True,
It's a little early.
Well-
5:15 is tough for me though.
Yeah.
Well, y'all move to 5:30, I mean, the next meeting, or what? Y'all try to do that, maybe?
Maybe. so.
Will that work, maybe? You know, you're in court, and you have legal stuff.
Well, they don't, typically it doesn't.
Can I think?
I'm not in
Do
court
we
that
have
way.
recycle?
I have a job that, I have Tuesday, the second before Tuesday's off.
Okay.
And, you know, I said, hey, I gotta have the second before Tuesday off, period, in the
Right.
discussion. And,
Well, you just tell
it's when we
me.
wanna move these days to other days, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Y'all fix to mess me up.
Yeah.
We've always had the second and fourth, it's always etched in stone, and then all of a sudden we start moving things around. And it causes a little concern for me, but would 5:30 be a better time for y'all to start the meetings? I know that, like tonight, I try to move quickly through our agenda, I mean.
But even if we overlap some of general committee, I guess if we have something that we need, we could just ask one of them, Steve, to put that